Extraordinary radio for discerning listeners. Starr 103.5 FM.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Starr today here on Starr 103.5 FM. I am Tutua Danso. A listen to the stories leading the pack this evening. And coming up in this broadcast, tensions over the recoalition of 7 outstanding polling stations for Oblekuma North reach skyrocketing levels as party agents clash over pink sheets.
Ghanaians should stay calm. We are determined to deal with the situation. And given the caliber of people we have, I'm confident that we'll deal with the situation.
We will take you live to the coalition center shortly where the results are being tallied. Now, race against time to avert a possible return of Dumso saddles President Mahama as he officially returns to the seat of government.
Ghanaians should stay calm. We are determined to deal with the situation. And given the caliber of people we have, I'm confident that we'll deal with the situation.
Tonight on Starr Today, we place the radar on what has been described as the country's ailing energy sector as Mahama sets up 12-member committee to address the challenges. And later, we'll tell you why security consultant Professor Kwesi Aining has described as a security breach the decision to allow Burkina Faso head of state Ibrahim Traoré to greet President Mahama with his service weapon during yesterday's swearing-in ceremony.
The argument that this is a part of his uniform now does not fly at all. This was a major break of protocol, particularly when other heads of states were present and our own newly installed president was being greeted.
We will also take you live to Parliament, where the minority has rejected a description given by the Speaker of the House.
But let it be known by all of you that it's part of the duty of the Speaker to protect the micro minority.
We are the official minority. There can't be any other description. And it shouldn't be used by anybody on the floor of this house. You cannot even use that term. It's not only Mr. Speaker. You can't use that term micro minority. From today, nobody should ever use that term in this house. Nobody should use that term in this house.
We have details of these and many other stories making up this 1 hour 30 minutes broadcast. Do stay.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA, also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Thank you very much for your time this evening on the bulletin. I'm Tutua Danso. So this bulletin is also streaming live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM. Tensions over the recoalition of 7 outstanding polling stations for the disputed Oblekuma North parliamentary elections have reached skyrocketing levels. While this comes after the political parties clashed over some pink sheets, which has further delayed the process. Now, earlier, a presiding officer for one of the polling stations in Ablikuma North, Nathaniel Klinsman Avume, denied authenticating figures from his polling stations, leading to a brief physical altercation. Police officers intervened to prevent further disruptions. Here is one of the party agents.
After authenticating the scanned pink sheets, we asked him to sign to confirm or otherwise. When he was signing, his signature and that of what was on the pink sheet were two different signatures. And we raised the alarm. The returning officer says he's in charge, so nobody can question him. How can you have one sheet, two different signatures from the same PO?
So how did he arrive at authenticating that when it is...
They are using their memory. So after memory, EC now says you only use your memory to authenticate pink sheets.
You suspend foul play. You suspend foul play on the side of the presiding.
Exactly. So you need to confirm your signature to confirm that the document is authentic.
Has the EC accepted?
The officer accepted it and entered it.
That was Nathaniel Klinsman Avume, one of the presiding officers for the Ablikuma North constituency. Let's go on the phone lines now and have a conversation with my colleague, Obed King Gaglo. Obed, what led to the disagreements?
Right, so the disagreement here still continues at the Greater Accra Regional Office of the Electoral Commission as the NDC party agent for the Ablikuma North constituency, who doubles as the constituency organizer, Musa Kalamu, is insisting that 62 of the police station should be rerun. This is because he believes that the pink sheets that have been used for these collations are scanned copies of the pink sheets and could be altered. They insist that all the processes leading to today that has been reduced to 3 more police stations are illegal and they cannot accept it. Earlier, they brought in one presiding officer who could not vouch for the figures that was presented by the MPP to the Electoral Commission. I have him right standing with me. I want to find out for him what's the way forward, Musa. What's the way forward for the Ablikuma North constituency coalition? How can we finish this process? My brother, you also what transpired here today. Look, almost all the POs the EC themselves brought had difficulty concerning the pink sheets they themselves manufactured. All their POs, as I speak, out of the 7 they brought, three said they cannot confirm what was shown to them. So we are now at a stalemate. And once you've gotten your own POs that said they cannot confirm, it means there is something suspicious in there. There's something suspicious in there. What's the way for it? I hear you say that they will be everyone. Yes, you know, we've always contested that all these 62 pink sheets they brought in. If today your own POs are unable to confirm, how do we also confirm that 62 pink sheets from MPP? So all that we are asking is the worst case scenario in the stations in Ablikuma North. That is the worst case scenario. Earlier, some confusion ensues between you and the Electoral Commission and MPP. We hear that the signature for one of the presiding officer was different from the copy that he presented. How did you know that? Yes. What happened was that once a presiding officer comes and confirms that all the signatures are clean, he needs to write the confirm together with his signature and the date. When he was signing, we realized that the signature he was putting in there was so different from what was under it. So I quickly took that to come and show it to the media. And the police had to come in and take that pink sheet from them. But the police gave me the assurance that he himself will bring it and show it to the media. But that wasn't that. That is what brought in the confusion. The same PO, 2 different signatures on the same duplicated pink sheet. That is what brought about the confusion. Let me find out from you finally. We hear that there are 3 more police stations that you see that the difference is about 1,002. Even if they do the declaration today, you are saying that it cannot hold. Yes, you can't do the declaration because it is a closed election. Even with MPP, let's give it to them. Their own parliamentary candidate. She said she has done her recollation over 10 times, and she won the election with 414 votes. So if we have outstanding polling stations of total number of 1,002, it means there is no way there can be any declaration. Because when those 1,002 come, it can overturn the 414 she's talking about. So there is no way there can be any declaration. Thank you very much, Musa. So that was Musa Kalam, who is the party agent of the NDC for the North constituency. So a balance report. Let me also engage the party agent for the MPP. This one TV, you're live on Starr FM. Now let's find out from you. The NDC says that the declaration cannot happen today because the 3 outstanding polling stations, the difference is 1,002, and you claim you won the election by 415 votes. What's the way forward for this declaration?
My brother, I just have a simple question for you. What is NDC is afraid of always saying they cannot declare the election? If you know that you are winning like the way that I know that we have won the election, you think that I'm very kind. You think the EC to do his work. So if you know that same as what I believe, allow the process to go on. You understand? Me, I'm organizer of Asobono. In front of me, our party is yes. But we have the scan document, the 281 scan document. Then if nobody has touched your phone, why are you also bringing a scan document or a photocopy document? Why would you bring the original thing that you are trying to put it under your pillow? Why do you put it under your pillow?
If they are suggesting that there should be a rerun of the 52 police, they believe that the scan copies that you present are not genuine.
Why is not genuine? Master, I'm not saying your scan documents are not genuine. And mind that everybody see it clearly, and the presiding officer come and identify that this is my signature, this is my everything, and it's genuine. Then you said no. But yours that nobody can see, you are calling it genuine. That's what I'm saying. If they know that they win the election. So they should bring the kingship.
So you want the EC to declare the result today?
Inshallah, EC will do the declaration, but I'm not forcing them. It's their job. I'm standing here. I've allowed them to do their work freely and fair. So whoever that they did the coalition, the 3 remaining coalition, and declare good to go for the nation. And I know we NPP have won the election. You understand? Because I will not say because of one parliamentary seat, Ablekono should bend like they do. I will never do that because I have nowhere to go. I live in Ablekono. My family live in Ablekono. And family in Ablekono. So I will not say Ablekono should bend. So they should go out and tell their supporters the truth that we need to support this because we always beat them. But just because this year the gap got closed, that's why they are misbehaving like that. Otherwise, we used to beat them over 30,000 or 20-something thousand.
At this time, you beat them by what?
Because our people didn't come out to vote, we beat them by 414 in Ablekono. I say it's a good because somebody win with one vote to parliament. So if we have won with 414, we have done very well.
Thank you very much. So that's the organizer for the Ablekono constituency, who also doubles as the agent for the NPC here, the regional office of the EC, talking to us by way of update. The Ablekono constituency, Rabna Obing, who is standing in for the NDC, and that of Nana Use for the NPP. We've seen Nana Use here, but Rabna Obing has not shown up here. And so the process has stalled as we speak, and the Electoral Commission is yet to take a decision on the outstanding 3 polling stations that we have. Earlier, there were outstanding 52, and then 40 was collated, and the remaining 22, and then as of yesterday, there were 7 outstanding, and today it has been reduced to 3 outstanding polling stations. And so it's still a stalemate here at the regional head office of the EC. We are still monitoring the process as to whether or not the Electoral Commission will declare the result for the Ablekono constituency.
But does it look like the results for the outstanding 3 polling stations will be collated today?
Right. So because I earlier told you that the presiding officers for the various polling stations were assembled here. 20 of them were called, but as of yesterday, only 13 showed up, and so it was left with 7 who were supposed to show up to authenticate the numbers on the pink sheet. But when today they came, 3 of them said that they could not vouch for the figures they see on the document, and so since they cannot vouch or authenticate the originality of the figures, those 3 are still outstanding, and the Electoral Commission is yet to take a decision on that.
But I mean, generally, are we making any headway with regards to the results? It doesn't look like results will be declared today.
As I mentioned earlier, we are still waiting for the electoral commission to take a decision on the outstanding TV because the presiding officers who came said they were not sure of the figures that they see. They said that those are not the figures that they know of, and that's also brought some confusion because the NDC believes that since the presiding officers cannot vouch for the figures, those figures cannot be admitted or be allowed to be part of the figures for the final commission. So, because a stalemate, the electoral commission is in a meeting with the returning officer for the constituency and yet to come out with a final determination, whether a declaration or a decision as to whether or not to go and come back tomorrow to continue the process, because as of yesterday, there were 7 outstanding, and today it has been reduced to 3. And so we are still waiting for the electoral commission to take a decision with the returning officer of the constituency who is in charge. And so we cannot tell whether they will declare or not. But hopefully, we hope that they declare so that it will bring finality to the process. But again, the NDP saying that for them, their position is that the 52 original outstanding police stations, there should be a rerun of elections at these police stations to bring a finality to the results and declaration of the Kuma North constituency.
Absolutely, Obed. Thank you very much. Continue to monitor that. We'll come to you for more updates on the back of that. That is my colleague, Obed King Gato, at the Greater Accra Regional Office of the Electoral Commission.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
Now, government's 12-member committee is racing against time to secure fuel to avert a possible energy crisis. Ghana's energy sector faces a potential crisis due to a scheduled maintenance of the West African gas pipeline company WAPCO infrastructure on January 20, where we understand as a failure of the NPP government to secure fuel before existing office. Now, the committee is chaired by Yape Kusaogu MP John Abdullah Jinapo, who says that the committee is expected to develop a roadmap to address both financial and technical issues. The development has given rise to questions over whether the outgoing government deliberately set up the John Bahama administration for a chaotic start to his second term. There are more details in this report.
The new administration had accused its predecessor of deliberately refusing to procure enough fuel for power generation. But although former Energy Minister Herbert Krapa earlier dismissed claims of impending load shedding and urging the new government to keep the lights on as they did, the executive director for the Institute of Energy Security, Nana Amwesi VII, revealed that the planned maintenance on the West Africa Gas Pipeline Company's infrastructure will lead to significant disruptions in the energy sector from January 20.
Even if we use today's expected peak demand of 3,800 relative to what the others can produce, roughly 2,800, we have a deficit of 1,000 megawatts that we must share because not everybody can have the power. So some parts may have to do and some parts will have to solve. And so there is that eminent challenge in the next few weeks, particularly if WAPCO undertake the SI on the 20th. So anything also happen between now and going forward relative to our natural gas pipeline, then of course we are exposed. And so we must have a backup.
But speaking to the media after the government's emergency meeting with players in the energy sector, Director of Systems Operations at the Ghana Grid Company, Frank Ochri, confirmed the need for adequate supply of fuel to ensure uninterrupted power.
Now, because the gas that it is supplied to thermal plants in Tema is going to be shut down, it is needful that we get some liquid fuels for some of the plants in Tema to run so that we continue to have adequate supply even during the period of the pigging. What we came to inform the government is that yes, there are some liquid fuels, but it's not enough to cover for the period of the pigging. And so efforts have to be made to get enough volumes of the liquid fuel so that that critical maintenance can go on as planned.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the 12-member committee and MP for Yape Kusaogu, John Jinapo, had hinted that government would explore all options, including a possible negotiation with WAPCO to extend their planned maintenance to avert the looming crisis. We need to break some barriers and close down some of the usual timelines and bridge it up
so that we can secure 1, light crude oil, 2, distillate fuel oil, 3, heavy fuel oil. These 3 oils are critical. And also to work with WAPCO, whether they can delay their scheduled maintenance work to accommodate the situation. And then Honorable Tefosen is also going to join me, and he'll be helping with the technical side in respect of the finance aspect, because we need to raise money quickly. We'll report back to Chief of Staff, and then he will give the instructions, and we'll know what to do. It's serious, but all I can say is that Ghanaians should stay calm. We are determined to deal with the situation. And given the caliber of people we have, I'm confident that we'll deal with the situation.
The committee is expected to report on progress of work to the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, by close of day on Wednesday, 8th January 2025.
Well, a report released by the Ghana Grid Company Limited, Gridco, on the energy situation maintains that Ghana will need about $90 million to purchase fuel to run thermal plants in order to meet the demand for the period where WAPCO would undertake mandatory maintenance between January 20 and February 16, 2025. I've been joined in the studios by my colleague, Edem Kojo, to help us appreciate the 9-page document released by Gridco. Edem, thank you very much for your time. What is contained in that document?
Okay, so the document is actually titled Power Supply Outlook for the West African Gas Pipeline Offshore Pigging from January 20 to February 16, 2025 and projections for 2025. Now, in summary, this document is as a result of a planned pipeline maintenance by the West African Gas Pipeline. Now, what this document actually brings to bear is that indeed the maintenance was originally scheduled for October 2024, but had to be rescheduled at the request of the Ministry of Energy. Now, for those who understand or don't understand how our gas or how our energy works, we have what we call the thermal plants, which are powered either by gas or by 3 different types of fuel, not your regular petrol or diesel fuel. Now, we have an arrangement with Nigeria where we get gas supply directly from Nigeria to Ghana. We have some plants at Tema, which include the Sonia Sogli and other plants, who, as a result of they being on the line, get the gas directly from Nigeria, from the pipeline at Tema to their plants to power and give us energy. And this pipeline continues all the way to Tema. However, the maintenance that is being done in the outlets that flow to Benin, Togo, and then Tema. So as a result of the plant maintenance, what this is saying is that during this period, gas offtake at Togo, Benin, and Tema will be shut down. And so there will be only direct gas to Takrady. What this therefore means is that any plant that is dependent on what is given out at the Tema region cannot have gas to run the plant and give energy. So this is what the Gridco had put it in the report, that there's a need for a strategy to ensure that whilst this maintenance is ongoing, Ghana is still able to have or meet its energy needs. So it tells us, it talks about the impact. And when we move to the analysis of the impact of the power generation, there are 2 instances they give. They say 1, where there is no liquid fuel available for plants in Tema. Now, before I go to that, I'll just go out and read something they say here. That WAPCO strategy, during the period, there will therefore be no consumption of gas from these laterals. All gas in the pipeline during this period is needed. Now, Gridco is saying that as a result of that, there's a need for fuel or for liquid fuel to be given to this plant for them to actually work. Now, let's go on to what it says. It says that according to Gridco, it says there are 2 scenarios: no liquid fuel available for plants in Tema, and use of liquid fuel plants by thermal plants in Tema. Now, Gridco says that if there is no liquid fuel to power the plants in Tema, which include Asogli, which include Tico and other plants, what this would therefore mean is that in the peak, we need to shed off about 1,100 megawatts of energy. And then off-peak, on say Saturdays and Sundays, we need to shed off about 910 megawatts. So if we didn't have this gas to take care of, or sorry, if you didn't have this liquid to take care of Sonia Asogli, Send Power, and AXA plants in Tema, we will be shedding off close to 1,000 megawatts. Now, note that during the peak, our peak demand is 3,800 megawatts of power. So, if you are shedding off 1,100 megawatts of power, what this will therefore mean is that as a country during these periods, we will be shedding off close to 1/3 of our power, which means that between 20th of January and 19th of February, if we don't have these liquid fuels, each day of the week, nearly 1/3 of the country, or up to 1/3 of the country, could be without light at every given time. So the second plan, which is scenario, use of liquids by thermal plants in Tema. Now it says the government should therefore, liquid fuels required are 3: the LCO, which is light crude, the DFO, and then the HFO, which is heavy crude. Now it says if this crude is able to come into the system, we would be able to generate even more than what we need in our peak and off peaks to ensure that there is no load shedding. Now I'm going to end with this, because Gridco had given the amount needed to purchase this fuel. It says with the light crude oil, we need some $50.94 million. With the heavy crude oil, heavy fuel oil, we need some $11.98 million. And with the DFO, we need some $26.88 million. It says a total of $89.90 million is required to purchase liquid fuel to run thermal plants in order to meet demand for the period. I'll end with some conclusions that Gridco gave. It says there's a deficit in generation capacity during the period of the WAPCO pigging exercise, which is the maintenance exercise. There is therefore the need to procure liquid fuel to run thermal plants in Tema to meet demand. A total of $89.90 million is required to purchase liquid fuel to run thermal plants in order to meet demand for the period. So, this is basically what has come off from the Gridco. Gridco says if WAPCO goes ahead with whatever planned maintenance, we will be shedding as high as 1,001 megawatts of power during peak periods on weekdays. And for that matter, we need to get this fuel, which the minority, or which the new government, is accusing the incumbent of not purchasing it in time, which will affect our sector.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Edem Kojo is my colleague on the research desk. Well, let's get some responses on the back of this. We've been joined by Kojo Puku, who is an energy expert and was the head of the Baumia campaign team on energy. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this evening. Now, does this claim by the NDC that our energy sector is in dire crisis surprise you? I mean, coupled with fears of a referendum, so?
My dear, the campaign is over. I mean, the campaign, I think, we are no more campaigning. So this whole thing where you guys start talking about dire this and this and this, I think we should now look what is the way forward in terms of how the government of the day is going to tap in and solve the problems, if any. I don't think the tone that is coming out of the journalists is even what we have, because we've had 3 weeks to 1 month of transition. Instead of going into transition and looking at things that, for me, employment, who's being employed and who's not being employed, don't you think that some of these things, if it was true, would have come out in the transition? And it is just by an interview being conducted on the sidelines of the inauguration, and all of a sudden every journalist wants to have that discussion. The country do not run on diesel. The country do not run on petrol. The country run on gas. We don't store gas. Okay? Gas are produced on a daily basis, and we have enough gas internally to supply the demand that we have in the energy sector. If somebody comes in and says that we only have 5 hours of fuel left, if not, we are going to go into our crisis. That person said that yesterday at 1:31 p.m. Today is 5:34. It's been over 24 hours when that person said we've only got 5 hours of fuel left. Everybody's light is on. Nobody has had load management. If your light went off, it's because it's a localized problem. I don't get where everybody is
trying to make it look like somebody has not done their work. The MPP was in power, your light was on. If they are in power, the light should be on. I don't get where this is coming from.
But, I mean, John Jinapor argues that during the transition meeting, your government had given them the assurance that they were going to provide crude oil. Fuel, I beg your pardon.
Do what?
Provide fuel.
To do what? Provide fuel to do what?
To help the light stay on.
Yeah, but the light we don't need, you see, have you asked John Jinapor who told him that we need the fuel for the light to stay on? Yeah. Some of these things, you remember very well in the past whenever John Jinapor would hold interviews and say that the reason lights were going off is because government doesn't have money, right? And government cannot procure fuel. Haven't you heard that before? Right? So if the government didn't have money and the government couldn't procure fuel, government not buying fuel is not news. That's on. So I don't get where the assertion is, oh, government did not buy fuel and we only have 5 hours of fuel. And you can go and play all the online case of John Jinapor. He keeps saying that government of Ghana, which is the MPP government, didn't have money and they are broke. That's why they can procure fuel. But the lights were on. The issue that we should discuss, and all these things about there's a meeting. The meeting held today, right, was not about a situation that exists. WACO is undertaking a 1-month maintenance. And that maintenance starts on the January 20th. And there's already a document that is circulated where West African Gas Pipeline informed the government. And BRICO has done an analysis of the various scenarios under which we can have light within that period. So we have a certain amount of gas that comes from the Nigerian gas, right? When the maintenance is going on, we wouldn't get that gas coming to Chama. So there are a lot of scenarios. I'm sure you've seen that document. So those are yes, that is the upcoming issue. But as I say to you now, I mean, they are now in government. Every document I have this to, they have added. They should show us a document, and there's a daily planning that shows whether there's going to be load management. Now they can't tell us that we are hiding something because they sit in the driving seat. They should produce if there is any load management timetable given to them, or there's any document given to them by the operators of the sector that is going to be load management. There's nothing. So let's not make it look like somebody left the sector in a situation where if nothing is, light is going to go off tomorrow. The light has not gone off. Has your light gone off?
Mine hasn't yet.
Exactly. Nobody's light has gone off because there's no load management going on.
They're actually people that have actually experienced a power crisis.
My dear, everybody listen. I keep saying this over and over, and journalists will help educate people. Nobody has ever said that lights will never go off. Your light can go off, and journalists should stop this thing where people have already called me and complained about it. So if your light goes off, it's not doom so. There are transformer problems, there are localized problems. Okay. Now the NDC are in power as of yesterday. They will come and tell you that when light goes off, it is not because it's too off, because they know that it's localized problems. So if somebody off as I speak to you now, it's not because there is no fuel. We don't use diesel to run the country. Where somebody will say that, oh, I came and there was only 5 hours of the fuel left, so the generator will go off. That's not how the country is run. So look, I mean, let's look. There are problems in the energy sector. The MPC is in power now. Can we all come together and solve some of these problems? Yes, we can all come together and look at the indebtedness and the efficiency of ECG, whether it's going to be privatized or not. Those are the issues we all come together and discuss, not these fear-mongering that.
Okay. Now, per the GRECO statement, we see that the maintenance, which was originally scheduled for, October 24, had to be rescheduled to February this year, per the Energy Ministry's request. Was there any reason for that rescheduling?
Yes, because basically you have to look at the maintenances. There are other maintenances that goes on in the sector. Okay, so even as you read that document that you are referring to, there are some maintenances that they have also need to reschedule. You understand? So when you have a lot of maintenances clashing at the same time, we need to prioritize and see which one can go and which one can happen. There are maintenance in the sector all the time. These are some of the things that when we say, people are like, oh, they are lying. When you have maintenances happening, lights go off because you need to have substitutes. Some of the substitutes I've seen in the document is that we bring in light crude oil, NHFO to supplement the power generation in the Tama Enke. If it was the MPP in power and we came to say this, then NDC would say that, oh, it's not true, the government is broke. But today, they are in there and they've made that document available. The most important thing is that maintenance are supposed to happen at a certain time. But when you have a lot of maintenances happening at the same time, you reschedule some of them. And the one for the WAPI, which is the West African Gas Pipeline, was scheduled for January to February instead of happening last year because there were other maintenances also happening at the same time.
Talking about other maintenances that were happening at the same time, we see in the same document that governments had requested, or Great Crow, I beg your pardon, had requested for fuel. Couldn't the government then had made provisions for that fuel?
Provision for which fuel? If the maintenance, like I'm saying to you, when is the maintenance supposed to take place? From January 20th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so transition started when? Transition started the second week of December, doesn't it? It's been 3 weeks since we started transition. Has anybody from the transition team bring this thing up? How come it's all of a sudden a news item? Okay, so if you're talking about something that needs to happen, and you came in and you won power in 7 December, there is a 1 month transition. You saw that that thing was a headline item because it was dire. How come we are now hearing about it for the first time and all of a sudden it's news? So don't blame whoever left because they would have told you when you came in doing the transition that this is something that is up and coming. If your preference...
John Janapo says that the ministry had given them the assurance that they were going to procure the fuel.
No, the ministry, hold on. Did you or did you not see a back and forth in the media about hiring and stock payment and all those things? Didn't you see that during the transition time?
I did.
These were different. Exactly. So what was the back and forth with the government on this fuel thing? You saw the priority they had. The priority they had was to stop employment and payment. Their priority was not to go and look at the lighting, the fuel which would be needed for the maintenance. Somebody didn't think was important enough. All we keep seeing letters on was back and forth, Felix Ofosukwaki writing letters on employment and stop payment. ADB making payment that they think they can stop. So, my sister, the Ghanaian government voted NDC in to solve problems. They should solve the problem. Let MPP in opposition, let them be in opposition. Like I said, there are pertinent and more important issues that we need to solve as a nation. Some of us, with our expertise, are more than happy to come on board with the NDC expertise, and then we'll solve it for Ghana. But these issues where we are trying to blame somebody for something that you could have.
Unfortunately, we lost Kojo Puku there. He's an energy expert, and he was talking to us about the energy sector crisis that the NDC government is warning Ghanaians about. This is still Starr today.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
We'll return to the energy sector again, but before that, a local governance analyst, Dr. Richard Fiadomo, has backed President Mahama's decision to revoke the appointments of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives barely 24 hours after assuming office. In addition, all government appointees to the various assemblies were dismissed, with coordinating directors of the various MMDAs tasked to take charge. For now, here are excerpts of that statement signed by the Executive Secretary of the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama.
Revocation of appointments in accordance with the powers vested in His Excellency John Mahama under the provisions of the Local Governance Act 2016, Act 936, as amended by the Local Governance Amendment Act 2017, Act 940. The following appointments have been revoked effective today. 1. Chief executive officers, chief executives of metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, and 2. Assembly members appointed pursuant to the relevant sections of the Act. In the interim, the respective coordinating directors of the various MMDAs are directed to assume responsibility as acting chief executives until substantive appointments are duly made. Kindly note and act accordingly. And
now, speaking to Starr News on the back of this, President of the Chamber for Local Governance, Dr. Richard Fiadomo, welcomed the decision, saying it is in line with the laid down rules and procedures.
Number one, they can be removed by the appointing authority, that is the president. Number two, they themselves can choose to resign. Number 3, the General Assembly by 2/3 majority can remove them from office. And number 4, if an unfortunate situation happens and MMDC dies. So it is well within the right of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, to start the MMDCs. And it is no news to the extent that in 2017, that's exactly what was done by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So if you ask me, nothing illegal has been done. The President is within his right to disappoint all the MMDCs who were appointed by the President. So the President appoints, the President disappoints. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the revocation of the appointment of the MMDCs and indeed the government appointees. If you recall, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government has brought us where we are. Before, at 9/3/2016, government, through the act, made it possible that the government appointees, that's assembly members, their positions are not coterminous with that of the President. And they were given a security of tenure, so that if Nana Addo Dankwa appoints assembly members, President John Mahama today should not be able to sack them. But what did we see in 2017? The MPP government at the time, midnight, they went to Parliament under certificate of emergency for Parliament to amend at 936 to allow the President to be able to sack government appointees. So I think that the President has been served and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is following suit. So for me, what has happened, it was to be expected. But as to when it will come, that is what I couldn't have envisaged. But there is no illegality committed or perpetrated by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Dr. Fiadomo also called on the Mahama-led government to ensure MMDCEs are appointed within the first 120 days.
Technically speaking, you cannot appoint MMDCEs when there are no ministers and deputy ministers in place. So time frame will be that one contingent on when the President appoints his cabinet and appoints his ministers, when Parliament will have to vet those ministers for them to take office. Because it is the local government minister who will be sending the list to the President for the President to appoint out of 3 persons that will be submitted. So clearly, it is difficult for me to give that. I honestly do not expect it to go beyond March entering into April, because I expect that before the end of this week or within the 14 days, as His Excellency has said, we will get his cabinet ministers to be out and the appointment of ministers. So once it's done, it will take Parliament about a month to vet all ministers and deputy ministers. So yeah, I'm looking at March entering into April for the MMDCs to take appointment or be nominated.
Well, that was Dr. Richard Fiadomo, a local governance expert. But let's return to energy now, because we understand that President John Dramani Mahama was meeting or has been meeting some energy experts. Let's take a listen.
And so going ahead with privatizing the last point of distribution of electricity to bring in private sector efficiency is something that we want to take up again. We would like to speak with the World Bank to get the expertise to be able to do that. Okay. I spoke to the Americans during my last visit to the U.S. We met them in an mission, asked if it was possible for them to reinstate the $190 million that they had devoted to that aspect of it. And they said the door is not closed. And so we need to pursue that discussion. Or if we don't have access to the 190 million, if the World Bank can support us, to be able to finish that aspect of it, so that we can reduce the losses, where it has to do with the IPPs. But in the meantime, what we want to do is to restore some transparency in the system, restore the cash waterfall mechanism, so that we stabilize the situation until we're able to carry out all the reforms in that sector. So off the top of my head, these are a few of the pressing issues that we think that we should work with the World Bank on.
Let's go over the phone lines now and engage my colleague Hanan Abdul Adam. Hanan, thank you very much for your time. So has the crunch meeting ended, and what more can you report?
Well, the first or the second phase of the meeting is still ongoing. The team is expected to, or the technical committee is expected to complete whatever discussions that they are having as tasked by the Chief of Staff to conclude in the next 15 minutes. and come up with a roadmap or recommendation that the new administration would adapt to resolve these issues. But as the committee is still engaged in that meeting, the president himself met with the World Bank Group, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and other international communities on how to deepen Ghana's bilateral engagement and to bring the needed development and improvement in every sector of the economy. But key amongst the issue for this government, as it officially takes over the reins of government from today officially, has to do with the looming power crisis that we are to expect. So the president, when he met with the vice president of the World Bank Group in charge of Central and West Africa, he did mention that the country needs about $90 million to be able to avert this crisis, and that has to do with insufficient fuel supply to power the thermal plants in Tema and other places. And so this has been the issue. But the committee was also expected to develop a roadmap to avert future challenges, not necessarily for a short period, but a long-term solution that Ghana would become a net exporter of electricity, and the country would not come to this particular situation in any moment soon.
Hanan, thank you very much for those updates there. That was my colleague, Hanan Abdul Adam. This is still Starr Today.
Starr Today. First, fast, and credible.
Well, let's go to Parliament now, because the first sitting of the 9th Parliament was without drama, with the Speaker of the House taking center stage. Now, Speaker Bagben, in a bit to describe the NPP caucus, used the term micro-minority, which didn't sit well with the now opposition MPs who threatened to stage a walkout. This compelled the Speaker to withdraw that tag.
But let it be known by all of you that it's part of the duty of the Speaker to protect the micro-minority. Honorable members, is also part of my duty.
We find this unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, the minority seconded your proposal and the motion for your election. Mr. Speaker, when the so-called majority was even conspiring against you, we protested. We stopped them from that conspiracy. Mr. Speaker, it was us, the minority of conscience. This minority is the conscience of this House. Today, the so-called majority could not get its members to come to the House. 61 of you are absent. Mr. Speaker, we don't accept the description micro-minority. We are minority. Simplicity. Mr. Speaker, please, kindly, Mr. Speaker, describe us as such. We are the minority. We are not micro-minority. I say submit.
Well, just gone by was heated exchanges between the minority leader, Alexander Penyomarkin, who was asking the Speaker not to call the minority as micro-minority. A heated argument also subsequently ensued on the first day of the sitting. Here are excerpts.
This is not subject to debate. The minority leader, on behalf of the minority caucus, has objected to my describing their caucus as micro-minority caucus, and that this is a term that is unknown to the rules of the House. He is totally right. Honorable members, I will say that he himself misled me, because he himself has used the term micro-minority.
Mr. Speaker, you know, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know you miss your days. You miss your days as a
Honorable members, the objection is to the fact that it should not be formally so recognized by the records of Parliament. I agree with you. And so it should not be used by the Speaker, but it can be used by the leaders.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we are getting the impression, Mr. Speaker, the minority caucus is getting the impression that Mr. Speaker may be assisting the majority. Mr. Speaker, because you seem to be doing their debate for them. We are the official minority. There can't be any other description. And it shouldn't be used by anybody on the floor of this House. You cannot even use that term. It's not only Mr. Speaker. You can't use that term, micro-minority. From today, nobody should ever use that term in this House. Nobody should use that term in this House.
Honorable members, the minority leader is saying that I should not protect them. Is that what I'm to understand?
Speaker, we're saying that protect the minority. We are not, Mr. Speaker. You see your man. Mr. Speaker, you see what you are doing to us. Mr. Speaker, we protected you. When they were conspiring, we protected you. So protect us. We are the minority. We protected you. In fact, but for us, you wouldn't be the Speaker. Yes. It's because of our protection. That is why the President-elect had to issue a statement. Yes. We protected Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, please. Let me just hear from you so that I will not be seen to be denying you your right to be heard. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 123, 2A and B. Mr. Speaker, the preamble of my, just on a lighter note, just few weeks ago, just hold on, Mr. Speaker, just few weeks ago, my good friend was protesting heavily for being referred to as minority leader. But you were not. But today are you? Mr. Speaker, and order says that, and I read, a member shall not use offensive, abusive, insulting, blasphemous, or unbecoming words on a member or any other person, or B, impugn improper motives other person. Mr. Speaker, my colleague suggested that the majority was conspiring against you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have it on record when the minority leader at political functions was describing you in words that can never be used on this floor, and said, Mr. Speaker, that the greatest injustice to Parliament was to elect you as Mr. Speaker. You said that on political platform. Today, a 10-quote minority leader is now pretending he loves you more than the people who actually you belong to. We can tell you this. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, and I know you've got the tapes and the videos. But what I will say is that for the fact that he described us as conspiring against you, he must actually withdraw that part of the statement now and apologize to us.
Those were excerpts from Parliament earlier today.
Starr today. First, fast, and credible.
Let's now revisit one of our stories where I told you that the President, John Dramani Mahama, has revoked the appointments of some chief executives of the Metropolitan District Assemblies and have a conversation now with Daniel Gariba. He's the immediate past MCE for the Busa South constituency. Daniel, thank you very much for your time. I mean, what will be your initial reaction to revocation of your appointments?
Yes, it's to be expected. Once your government loses power, as a district chief executive, is to be expected that the new president is going to appointment. So
but do you think it was too sudden?
yes, it's the fastest in the history of our country. At least in 27, the revocation of 12th of
Daniel,
January.
I'm struggling to hear you. Kindly position yourself well.
Yes. Is it okay?
It's much better.
I said it's the quickest in the history of our country, because in 2009, apartments for response gave 3 months to be in office until the new ones are appointed. That's so in 2017 did the revocation on the 12th. But barely within 24 hours on taking office, John Mahama has revoked the appointment of DCs, even though it's something we are expecting. But it's in the history of our country. But we're okay with it.
I see, but there are some people who argue that the president should have waited, until he appoints new MMDCs before he revokes your appointments. What do you have to say to that?
Yes, that is sometimes the view of some people, but I always think that it lies in the view of the president to determine what he wants the current DCs to leave. And in the scheme of things of President John Mahama, he thinks that for the coordinating directors to act until substantive executives are appointed.
All right.
So it depends on who the president is at any time.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. I've been engaging Daniel Gariba. He's the immediate past MCE for the Busa South constituency.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
Now, government has officially missed its 2024 end-of-year inflation target, as the Ghana Statistical Service has pegged the December inflation at 23.8%, the fourth consecutive rise. This comes after government set a 15% target at the beginning of 2024, but had to battle with rising food prices. Here is government statistician addressing the press earlier today.
In the month of December 2024, average prices of goods and services went up by 23.8%, indicating that on a year-on-year basis, specifically between December 2023 and December 2024, general price levels of goods and services went up by 23.8%. This is on the backdrop that on a year-on-year basis, November 2024, we recorded an overall rate of inflation of 23.0%, indicating that on a year-on-year basis, between November and December 2024, we saw a marginal increase of 0.8 percentage points for the year-on-year inflation. Disaggregating year-on-year inflation from a food and non-food perspective, we identified a 7.5 percentage point difference between inflation for food and inflation for non-food, with inflation for food standing at 27.8% in the month of December 2024, and non-food inflation 20.3% for the month of December 2024. We have seen an increase in food inflation, increasing from 25.9% to 27.8%, and in contrast, we have recorded a decline in non-food inflation, declining from 20.7% by 0.4 percentage points to 20.3% for the month of December 2024. In the month of December 2024, from a regional perspective, the Upper East region recorded the overall highest rate of inflation of 40.6%, and the Eastern region recorded the lowest rate of inflation of 16.8%.
That was government statistician Professor Samuel Kwabena Enim. Let's go over the phone lines now and have a conversation with economist and dean of the University of Cape Coast School of Business, Professor John Gachi. Prof, thank you very much for joining us. Are you surprised that government failed to meet its end-of-year targets?
Well, we are not surprised because it was apparent on the face of the Subscribe Service report in previous months that it was going to take a magical effort for the government to meet its target at the end of the year. So it's not surprising.
But inflation has risen for the fourth consecutive time. I mean, just how worrying is this?
Well, it is worrisome because the components of inflation that we can have some control over seem to be out of control. For example, food inflation continues to be pronounced and leading the drive up in inflation, and also locally produced food items and in the inflation basket seem to be pronounced, and therefore we have to be worried about why we are not able to control those elements within the inflation basket.
In the interim and maybe in the long term, what needs to be done to ensure that we make a single digit soon?
Single digit inflation will have to be a result of a combination of policies, efforts to drive down inflation. One of the policy efforts is to deal with the stability of the cedi. Is to also to deal with the production in the country. Most of the food items are imported into the country, therefore they suffer from imported inflation. So if we're able to reset our production, that will go a long way to contribute to a drive down of inflation. So the idea is production, and then we also have a control on the cedi, and that will contribute to drive down in inflation.
Okay, Prof, I mean, there's a new government in town now, and as an economist, what would be that advice you'd give to the new government to ensure that the inflation doesn't rise for the fifth consecutive time going forward?
Well, I think inflation is reporting past events. Therefore, this past event will have some level of a pass-through effect in the economy. And therefore, you do not expect that the government has taken over, therefore inflation should come down immediately. So we need to appreciate that dynamic within the inflation development. So there is a pass-through effect, and if there are other significant sensitive elements within the inflation variables that has changed, those pass-through effects will have effect on the direction of inflation. So, for example, we have seen some increment in fuel prices. If that is so sensitive to the variables, then that may trigger some upward development in inflation. And that has nothing to do with the new government.
All right, Prof, thank you very much for your time. Professor John Gachi is an economist and the Dean of our School of Business for the University of Cape Coast.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
Now, security consultant Professor Kwesi Aining has described as a security breach decision by National Security to allow the Burkina head of state, Ibrahim Traoré, to meet President Mahama with his service weapon during yesterday's swearing-in ceremony. The 36-year-old military leader attended the ceremony in his military attire with his pistol by his side. Dr. Aining argues that it is unacceptable for a head of state to brandish weapon in the presence of another president. He spoke on Morning Star.
Well, it is not usual protocol
for a head of state to bear a cider when other heads of states are present. Normally, when a head of state travels with a security protocol, they bear their guns, but they are left on the plane with the belief that the host country will provide maximum security. So what happened in Accra yesterday, and I've seen all kinds of things on social media, was actually uncalled for. That, I think, was a breach of protocol, and quite a number of the heads of states who were present and other dignitaries might wonder about what they were seeing and whether they were seeing correct. That should not happen again. I mean, under circumstances, should that have been allowed? The argument that this is a part of his uniform, no, does not fly at all. This was a major break of protocol, particularly when other heads of states were present and our own newly installed president was being greeted. That ought not to have taken place.
There are those who have said that they see it as a display of trust. Do you see any reason in that?
No. I think people should, honesty and integrity in the way we work must cut both ways. There are procedures and protocols for doing things. I have not, in my close to 50 years in this business, seen this before. And I think people should accept if they thought it could be done or there was a mistake in insisting that this was wrong. I think people should not look for excuses about this. This is a government that seeks to reset the way our country behaves and thinks. And that reset begins by accepting when we've made mistakes or there have been oversights.
That was Dr. Ainin, the security consultant. Let's have a conversation on the back of this development and engage an international relations expert, Dr. Ishmael Hulovo, for more on this issue. Doc, thank you very much for joining us. Now, what will be your initial reaction to the Burkinabe head of state brandishing his gun in the full glare of the public during yesterday's inauguration?
Okay, good evening and good evening to your listeners. First of all, under normal diplomatic practice, it will not be allowed for another head of state to meet another president with a weapon. But there are certain circumstances that can allow a permission to be given for a head of state to do such as we've seen yesterday. So we must understand that while normal diplomatic practice is prohibited, if the two countries so agree, then it should be accepted. And given that the person in question is not a normal leader, if I say he's not a normal leader, meaning that he's not a civilian leader, he's still a military man. So in that context, you must understand that for him to agree to come to Ghana, there were issues at home concerning his own security, because since he took over power, ECOWAS has been hostile and our own country has not accommodated him so well. So I'm quite sure that they had issues pertaining to his personal security, and particularly given the environment they are going to have that ceremony. I think that there was that agreement between him and a Ghanaian counterpart that he could keep his weapon. So yes, it is done under some extreme circumstances if the two countries so agree.
I mean, so in your assessment, you don't think that it was cause for worry?
No, it won't be, because he has that weapon on him throughout the ceremony. So I'm sure that those who are managing security at the place are aware that he will be carrying them. And the little checks I have done indicate that, of course, the Ghanaian security sector was aware, and of course, the particular gun that he was holding has no ammunition. That's off it. And of course, it's not out of the ordinary. In certain circumstances, these things are agreed. Once the two countries agree that the leader to meet the other one with his weapon, then there's no cause for alarm. And given the preparations that have gone on before the ceremony, it would be surprising that even when he was called, the security operatives were around looking at him, they would just ignore for him to go. So I'm quite sure that the Ghanaian counterpart, the security setup were aware of the fact that he will be keeping his weapon.
But despite this point that you raised, I mean, there were people that believed that he should have concealed the weapon instead of brandishing it in the face of the public. Don't you agree?
Yes, that's a choice he has to make, and he decided not to do so. The most important thing for us Ghanaians is that our president, the president of the Republic of Ghana, who was being sworn is safe, and whatever the leader of Burkina Faso decides to do, either to conceal the weapon or to brandish is up to him. And you must understand the circumstances. Ordinarily, I'm not sure you agree to go to an inauguration in another West African country, and unless he has been given certain security assurances because of his own suspicion about either he's safe. And you see, military regimes operate in a particular narrative in the sense that they are always fighting for their regime because he will be operating with a lot of suspicion that anything can go wrong. So for them, this keeping weapons is a way of ensuring his own security. So I think that, well, it would have been better for him to conceal it. He chose the other option of having his weapon as part of his dressing up. And I believe that, well, the Ghanaian public is right in trying to raise concern and suspicion, but given the circumstances, given who he is, and given what he's facing at home and within the general sub-region where he is very suspicious of other African leaders, this is what he thinks is good for him. We cannot, as it were, determine that once we have that agreement that I think they had, he will actually conceal the weapon.
But Doc, I mean, people have also raised concerns that he seems to be frolicking, I mean, with people that have overthrown governments like the Senegalese president and, of course, the Burkina Faso president. What signal does it send?
Now, you must understand that he having taken over, let's assume, let's say President Mahama, he needs to play a role in trying to mediate the hostility between ECOWAS and these other leaders. Now, ECOWAS has taken that posture from the beginning of trying to ostracize these leaders. Mahama has that goodwill, as it is, to try and bring these other leaders on board. We need Burkina Faso back in ECOWAS. We need Niger back in ECOWAS. We need Mali back in ECOWAS. It doesn't help the sub-region that these countries are on their own, and we are not so sure what they are doing. So I think what he is trying to do is to find a way to get them closer, and that will enable him and his team to try and play a mediating role. Remember, Ghana-Burkina Faso relations has been a little bit on the downturn, given the comment that our former president had made way back when he was in the United States and so forth and so on. So a new leader will naturally want to see how do we bring these people on board beyond the ECOWAS framework and try to play a more balanced role in terms of bringing them on board. Of course, the ECOWAS chairman was at the ceremony. He is giving a speech. So you can't say that he has the current president seems to surround himself with leaders of coup. These are leaders of other West African countries that we have relations with. These are leaders of countries that are of interest to us. So far as Ghana's commitment to a stable West African sub-region is concerned, we cannot be hostile to them. We must find a way to bring them on board. And I think that inviting them to the ceremony is one step in that process, that at least we have shown that we are committed to bringing them back on board. We are committed to having them as neighbors. And I think that we can build on that to engage them more constructively, to see how we can have them back in ECOWAS, how we can help them to transition from military rule to civilian rule. I don't see anything wrong with it, except that we want to say that all the leaders who were invited were coup makers. They were civilian leaders that who were invited, and there were more civilian leaders at that ceremony than coup makers.
Prof, I mean, Looking at the inaugural ceremony yesterday, we had a lot of the African leaders attend. How do you think it will be beneficial to Ghana?
Well, the fact that you have so many African leaders is itself a plus. And it allowed the president, I think that a lot of diplomatic work had taken place before they arrived. And at the sidelines, it allowed the president to connect with them and negotiate things that he thinks they can do collectively as African leaders. It's a positive sign for Ghana that we have all these leaders willing and ready to come to this inauguration. It's a good start for the Mahama administration. They have to build on it, engage these African leaders and see how the issues, places of mutual interest for Ghana and these other leaders, so that they can strengthen it. And so it's a good start, and I think that they could build on it. The president currently has goodwill both domestically and internationally, and normally a change of government in Ghana brings that goodwill. It is how you use it, how you take advantage of it. So I think that as a start, we should take advantage of it, be more constructively dialoguing with our Burkinabe counterparts, and see how we can help them re-engage with ECOWAS.
Okay. All right, Prof. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Dr. Ismail Holovo is an international relations expert.
This is Starr FM 103.5 breaking news.
Now, news coming in indicates that a coalition of some outstanding polling results from some polling stations from the Ablekuma North constituency has been suspended. Let's just take you live to the Greater Accra Regional Office of the Electoral Commission, where Dr. Shebo Kweku is addressing the media.
They come here individually. They will have to be interviewed by the police. The police don't know them, right? But when they are coming to our office, there's no barrier, there's nothing. So they will come there. We pick them, all the electoral officers and the rest, we all go there. Then we are given buses and escorted by the police. So if you say they should come here individually, then they will come and confront the police and whoever they will confront. Don't forget that if the person comes and the person is attacked, it's also on us, right? So we bring them there so that under police escort, all of us can come and do our work.
So this process has been suspended now?
Did you hear the return officer? If you heard it, then I can't answer the question, unless you are not here. Okay. Then when you get it back, we will talk to you. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
What do you have to say to?
Okay. So gradually.
So this is Ekwefi, the NPP parliamentary candidate.
Gradually, 219, 200. It was left with 62, and by the grace of God, truth was stand. In the first place, I appreciate the justice system that we should go and collate. And I am firm. I want to say on record that I will fight this till end because I know I won. I have all my 281 pink sheets scanned. I did it immediately before the gentleman, the Kalamu gentleman, who came and tore everything from the Electoral Commission. He tore everything from the Electoral Commission. You can witness what was going on right now. He took one pink sheet and tore it, and it was taken from him. That has been the character in the constituency. Now, what it is that gradually we are left with 3 polling stations. By the grace of God, I'm leading comfortably. And that is the fear. I'm leading. I'm leading with how many votes? The total is 414 votes. Right now, I'm leading with 300 and something votes. And so, what it is that they know I have won. They are aware. The truth can never be hidden. It will definitely come out. Now, the gentleman who came, I don't know him. They also don't know him. Well, this morning, I learned some of them were calling the presiding officers not to come. And so that is what I heard. But right now, the gentleman went and came back. Now, I want to put this on record. He said, the handwriting is my handwriting. The signature is my signature. The figures are correct. But as for one rejected ballot, he can't confirm. And he remembers that there was no rejected, it doesn't exclude the truth. The truth we are looking for is the figures. If the figure is correct, which he confirmed 4 times, that as for the figure is correct, my handwriting is correct, the signature is my signature. But he remembers that there was no rejected ballot. That is 1. 2, the other paper that was put before him from the NDC has been altered. And you can see clearly that was original pink sheet from Electoral Commission. Now the other one from them has been altered. And you can see that the figure, they've altered the figure, leaving the guy's signature and everything. Okay. So the guy said, with this original one, I did it. I can confirm. But with the rejected one, I remember there was no rejected ballot. My conclusion is that we started from 281, right? I'm still leading, and we are left with 3. The 3 pink sheets that are left, I'm leading. Even the pink sheets, the 3 pink sheets alone, I'm leading over 100. And so whatever it is, however it will be, patience reigns. We will definitely get there. And finally, Equia Owusu Friye will be the MP elect in Ablekuma. There was so much lawlessness yesterday in our constituency. Whether Equia Friye has won or not, give it to our candidates. Where from this? We are setting a bad precedence that would take generation on in a negative way. Because if 2028, we're going for election, and the NPP also gets up to say, look, this is what you did the last time. We are going to repeat or do the same thing. Do you think it will go well for us? No.
Thank you.
No. Probably my thinking is that probably the gentleman, since he confirmed everything on the paper, probably he might have forgotten one rejected. Probably that's my mind.
So colleagues, and so far, thank you very much for your presence. I think that my candidate has said it all. If you look at it, and very soon, the party is going to publish our copies of the pink sheets that were given. And you see the names of those presiding officers and the agents for the various parties, and the numbers attributed to all. We are not going to overstretch it. All that we are saying is that truth is the truth. And come what may, if you look at collation from 281 pink sheets, all indications are clear. Equia Friye won. We'll be patient. We'll hear from the EC when they want to come out. We will comply. We will hear from the EC. The decision is the EC. We have the pink sheet. We'll publish for you to see. Thank you very much.
You just heard the sounds from the Greater Accra Regional Office of the Electoral Commission, where Dr. Srebo Kweku had earlier come to address the press. We also heard from the NPP's parliamentary candidates for that constituency, Equia Friye. And also finally, we heard from the NPP's Director of Elections and IT, Evans Nemako, also addressing the media. But let's cross over now. Still staying there and speak to my colleague, Obed. Obed, how did the process hold inconclusively?
Right. So, as you mentioned, the process has ended inconclusive, and there are 3 more outstanding communications that were unable to be verified by the Electoral Commission. This is that 2 polling of presiding officers who showed up out of the 7 denied the figures, to not authenticate the figures.
Let me just hold you on. I see that one of the agents for the NDC wants to address the press. Let's just listen to him shortly, and we'll get back to you.
Electoral Commission themselves that brought the POs, and just as Dr. Srebo said, the POs were sent to the headquarters of EC, where they were given the pink sheet. Even at the EC office, they were given the pink sheet to look at it, and that's when they come, all that they need from them is to say yes, it is their signature. They confirm. you yourself brought your own POs. They came here, and 2 out of the 6 rejected and said they do not confirm what is on the pink sheet. But I want Dr. Sribo to know this. 2 of the polling stations are out of contention because 2 of the POs have disputed the figure on those polling stations. So it is a non-starter. Those 2 polling stations can never be attended to. The only polling station that can be attended to is the polling station with the code C161205A. And the total voter population there is 403. Technically, what it means is that these 2 polling stations that the POs rejected amounts to 599 total. So there is no way EC can declare anybody winner of this election. The worst they can do, we are telling you, we reject all their scamping sheets. All have been authenticated, and we are telling them we are going back to court and we will run 62 polling stations in Abuja.
You just heard the Musa Kalamu, the NDC is a constituency organizer for the Ablikuma North constituency. But my colleague Obed is back on the line. Obed, thank you very much. You were telling me how the process halted.
Right, so basically, the process has ended, and the NDC are insisting that all the 62 scanned copies that were presented for the coalition will not be accepted because 2 of the presiding officers who showed up today could not confirm or authenticate the figures. They say there's a likelihood they were manipulated. And so they are calling for a rerun of elections in the 62 polling stations. So that's the update, the final update from the Ablikuma North Coalition Center. No winner has been declared. The returning officer says he cannot continue with the process and has referred it to the Electoral Commission. But for the candidate of the NPP, Madam Owusu Efeye, she's happy that she won the election. She says she's going to fight this to her last breath. And so to her, that is what has transpired here at the Greater Accra Regional Office of the Electoral Commission.
But Obed, do we know if the Electoral Commission will go into a meeting to decide when the coalition for the 3 outstanding polling stations will also be done?
When we tried to find out from the Director for Training for the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sriwakwaku, he says that the Electoral Commission cannot answer that question because it is the returning officer who is in charge of that decision. And so they are going to convince the returning officer to come back and complete the process. But the returning officer says he is done with his work and has referred to the Electoral Commission. So we'll be waiting for the Electoral Commission to take a decision on that stalemate.
Tracking the news with breakneck speed. This is a Starr FM 103.5 breaking news.
Well, that was my colleague Obed Kengaglo giving us updates from that Ablikuma North constituency. But we end the news on that note. Thank you very much for your time. I'm Stuart Dunn. So this bulletin was produced by Echo Anan, Benjamin Saki, Prince Asian, Emmanuel Donko, and Joey made sure the stream was possible. For more news updates, kindly visit starfm.com.gh. Have a good evening.